In today's video, I want to cover something that's both incredibly complicated and incredibly common, and that's wanting to leave a new job after only a short period of time. While this situation is challenging, it's not impossible. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to navigate this as a candidate who has started a job recently but has decided, hey, it's not for me and I need to look elsewhere. Let's go. Now, first things first, this happens all the time and it happens for a variety of reasons. Maybe a recruiter called you, maybe you saw a posting online and it was super exciting, but you take this new job and it turns out for whatever reason, it is not what you thought it was gonna be. And you're trying to deal with it, but you've reached the point where you're like, I can't do this, I won't do this, I need to look again. Now, the challenge here happens because now employers see you as somebody who wasn't in a steady job for a long period of time, but they see you as somebody who has left a job, only been in a role for a short period of time, and now wants to leave again. And that middle period here, having a short stint on your resume can make it really challenging for you to succeed in the interview process. But let's talk about how you do this. Now, first and foremost, if this is a sole occurrence, right? Like you're at a company for 5 years, then you're at a company for 9 months, and now you're looking, that's a lot easier to explain than having a whole bunch of 1-year stints, right? Like if you have the 5 years and 9 months, that's gonna be a lot easier for you to explain than having 6 1-year stints in a row. So first and foremost, if you're one of those people who has just like one short stint, good news, it could be more challenging. Now, my first key here is it can't catch you by surprise. You need to be prepared and ready. Sometimes just knowing a question is going to come up, knowing you're going to have to address something allows you to be in a better mental state and allows you to be ready to address it. So first things first, every single interview you go into, whether it's a phone screen, on site, whether it's a final interview, whether it's a final interview and they've already asked you about it twice, I want you to be mentally prepared that that question is coming. You're gonna have to explain it over and over and over again and be ready to do so. Now, probably the most important thing I could tell you about this is balance. When it comes to talking about this situation, you probably feel some kind of way about the new job that you have. Otherwise, you wouldn't be looking to leave after a short time. So maybe the job description was inaccurate. Maybe the culture is terrible. Maybe they don't give you work-life balance for whatever, and maybe all the above, right? So whatever reason though, you've determined I'm going to leave. But when you're explaining this to them, you can't be overly negative. But you also have to tell the story so they understand it. So it's finding that balance. You can't be all positive, like, yeah, I'm just deciding to look again. Because then they're gonna be like, well, why? Why do you wanna leave? Like, why are you looking to leave so soon? And on the other side of it, you can't be like, this is the worst job I've ever had. I hate my manager. I'm working 80 hours a week. The team sucks. Company culture is terrible. I went to the cafeteria. There was hair in my food. Like you see what I'm saying? If you come off as too negative, that's also not going to help you. So the key here is to be really balanced. You want to state in a very matter-of-fact way that there was misalignment, right? One of the best reasons you can give is you can say, you know what? In the job description in the interview, it said it was one thing. But since I've started, I've come in and the job that I'm doing is actually very different than what they told me it was going to be up front, and very different than was in the job description. And that was the reason I moved. I moved because I was really interested in what I would be doing on a day-to-day basis, but that is dramatically different from what I was told. I've talked to them about this, I've tried to address it, but from the conversations I've had, I don't think there's going to be any improvement on this moving forward. See, that is reasonable. It's not overly negative, and anybody would understand that. You know, another thing is you could talk about work-life balance. You know, if you're there and they're having you work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, and that's not what you signed up for, it's also reasonable. But again, you need to be measured when you're talking about it. You know, you could say, you know, I signed up for something. Initially, when I talked to them, I told them that work-life balance is important to me. You know, in my prior role, I was working about 50 hours a week, and that's really comfortable for me. You know, I'm a high achiever, I'm a driver, I want to get results. But in this new role, the expectation is I'm working, you know, 70, 80 hours a week. And I just don't think that's sustainable. I've talked to them about this. I've tried to address it. I don't see it changing in the near future. And that is what has me looking for a new job. What I also said there was at the beginning I said, I'm used to 50 hours, right? So when you're talking about work-life balance, it's important to let them know that you're not afraid of work, you're just not willing to do excessive work. You know, I also said, I'm a driver, I'm an achiever. It lets them know, yeah, it's not about I want to be lazy, it's about an untenable situation. I can't continue on at this pace for the long term. Also in both of these things, one of the things that's really important is you've brought it to their attention. You've tried to address it, but you see through your conversation, there is probably no hope of this changing in the near future. And for that reason, that is why you were looking. But before I move on to the next point, I want to reiterate it just one more time. It is so key. You have to tell them the real story in a measured, professional way. You can't make too little of it, because then they're like, well, why are you looking? And you can't be too negative about it, even if it is a negative situation, because if you are too negative, they might see you as a person who could be a problem. I think interviewing 101, you don't want to be overly negative about employers, jobs, companies, because companies, they don't like that. They see that as a red flag. So when you're telling the story, you've got to find that middle ground and you've got to find that balance. Now, one of the keys here is if you're going to be negative about the job and why you're leaving, which is an essential part of explaining why you're only willing to be at this company for a short period of time, it is key that you make that the only time during the entire interview process you're negative about anything. Right? You want to be seen as an overly positive person who is positive about everything. You have a positive outlook on life, but this one spot is the sole place where you are negative. Why is that important? Well, it's important because they want you to see that, you want to be seen as a person who is a good employee, who is positive, is not a negative person, isn't going to be a problem for them if they hire you. It is a person who is otherwise completely content, satisfied, happy. But there's one issue, and that's why you're looking. If you're negative about the reason you're leaving, but then you're negative about past employers, or you're negative about different situations, they're going to start to see a pattern, and you don't want that to be a pattern. The only thing you're allowed to be negative here is about the current situation you're not able to change. That is the whole reason why you were looking for a new job. Another key here when you have a short stint that you want to address is use language like, I'm looking to find a place where I can get back on track. Or say things like, for me, I like to stay with a company for a long time because I think that gives you an opportunity to learn and contribute. It's not like me to stay in a short stint, so I'm really unhappy that I have to do this, and I'm looking for a place where I can be there for the long term. Little things like this, they seem like you were just telling them what they want to hear. But I can't tell you as a recruiter how many times I've talked to a client who had concerns and they came out on the other side feeling better because during the interview, the candidate said things like, I'm looking to be at a place for a long term. I'm looking to find a place I can retire from. I'm not the type of person who wants to be jumping ship. All those things, while they seem small, they do matter to hiring managers. The next thing you want is you want to have prior manager references ready. So if you have managers from previous roles who are willing to attest to the type of work ethic, character, and employee you have been, you want to have those. That way when you're talking to them, you can be like, I understand seeing that this is a short stint might make you uncomfortable. So I've actually reached out to a few of my managers who have been in charge of my, my production in previous roles, and they'd be willing to connect with you. I'd happily welcome those up because I want you to feel comfortable with me as an employee. See what I did there? I addressed it in a positive way, and I gave them something that would make them feel better about it. It's always going to make them nervous. If you're at a place for a short period of time and you're leaving, they're always going to have questions. Why are they doing it? Are they not doing a good job? Are they a bad fit? Are they underachieving? There's a lot of reasons why a person might be in a short stint. By addressing it and letting them know that you understand and providing them with something that's going to provide them peace of mind, you're getting out in front of it, and that's a powerful way to address it. The thing about the situation is a lot of it is really easy to understand if you do a good job communicating it. A bait and switch situation where a job says one thing and then it ends up being a different thing, everybody understands how that could be demotivating and how you might not want to stay there. If you're working at a place where you're working 80 hours a week and there is just no work-life balance, people are going to understand that. There's actually a litany of good reasons why someone might want to leave. Maybe the company was acquired, and because of that, you feel it's uncertain. Maybe all of a sudden the company has gone through a little bit of a financial downturn, and because you're a recent hire, you're afraid you're going to be first to go. There are a lot of good reasons to say, hey, here's why I'm looking to leave. But you have to present it in a way that makes you seem like a reasonable person. Luckily, there are plenty of explanations out there. But chief amongst them are bait and switch with the job. You found that the work-life balance isn't acceptable. You have found that the company's going through financial hardships and you're concerned about the long-term viability of your position. Those are great reasons. So if you have any of those, although the situation might seem intimidating, they are very reasonable reasons. Now, one of the things that might be challenging and you're going through here, if you're still listening, is you're like, well, Ben, that's great if I get to the interview. But because of the short stint, I'm afraid I might not even get there. That recruiters, hiring managers, HR people, they won't even call me. And that is a potential obstacle. And it's one of the reasons why I would recommend anybody who is going through this have an amazing resume. Like, have a resume that is great and allows you to stand out. That way it's giving you a little bit of an advantage on the front end when you might already have a bit of disadvantage because you've just coming from a short stint. I don't do resumes. I'm not a resume. I'm more of an interview expert. But if you're looking for resume help, if you go down to the description box, there's actually a link. I partner with a service. They do great work. And if you use the discount code or you tell them, Ben Talks Talent, I saw this on Ben Talks Talent, they'll give you a 10% discount. But having a great resume is a great way to stick out for all the right reasons when that short stint makes it look like you might be a bit of a gamble. So another huge tip, make sure your resume looks great. Now, if your resume looks great, you've done all these things, you're still not getting interviews, the last thing I would do is I'd recommend writing up a cover letter. And I would explain to them why you were looking for a new role. But again, don't come off as too negative, come off as positive in every respect besides the one issue that it is an issue. And when you're talking about it, when you're addressing it, be measured, don't be emotional. Just kind of matter-of-factly talk about how you've tried to solve it, but there won't be resolution based on the information you receive for them so far. I'm not a huge cover letter person, but this is one of the situations in which if you are not getting traction, a cover letter might make a lot of sense. There you have it. That is the whole video. If you are new here and you haven't subscribed, you are 12 minutes into a video with me. I don't know what else you need. That is the universe telling you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment down below. And if you are not new, but you have watched this entire video, you have made it all the way to the end, you are more awesome than your peers. I just want you to know that. Good luck in your next interview. You got this.